Today, today we have a writing lesson. Our lesson is fantasy. Fantasy story, girls, are stories that are not real. The events are not real. The characters are not real. So this is what we will study about today. The key feature of a fantasy story. Let's start. Characters do things that cannot be done in real world. Like for example, the character here, Ariel, in The Little Mermaid, she's breathing underwater. Is it correct, or is it something that we can do in real life? Of course not, because the humans can breathe underwater. So this is one of the things that cannot be done in real world. You have to include it in your fantasy story. Describes events that could not happen in the real world. For example, here, one of the characters here, she stole her voice. Can we steal anyone? Can we steal the voice of anyone in real life? No, of course not. This is not real for sure. So we will describe events that couldn't happen in the real world. Okay? One of the features also may have a setting that doesn't exist in the real world. So you can choose the place that you want you can change your own place in your story. For example, you can write like Alice in Wonderland. Here we have a place that is not real. Here under the sea also this is a place that's not real. You can choose your own kind of setting, the place and the time. One of the key features of the girls is maybe written to seem almost real. When you are writing, it seems real to you or to the reader, but this kind of story, for sure, it is not real. May have a tone of happiness, nostalgia, or danger. When you are writing it, it's supposed to have tone of happiness, include moments of happiness or moments of sadness or danger. So you can choose your own fantasy story, which kind of fantasy story you want. Now, let's see how we can write a fantasy story. Let's watch this video and learn how we can start writing our fantasy story.
How to write an imaginative narrative for kids. Episode 1. What is it? An imaginative narrative is a genre or type of fiction writing. The word imaginative means using your imagination, and a narrative is a story. So when you write an imaginative narrative, you use your imagination to write a fiction story that could not really happen in real life. This genre is also sometimes called fantasy. Let's look at a few books and decide if they are imaginative narratives or not. The Lonely Unicorn. Is this an imaginative narrative? Yes. Unicorns are pretend creatures, so I know that this is a fantasy story. How about this book? All About Dogs. That doesn't sound like a story, does it? This sounds more like an informational book that teaches you facts. What about Monster Monday? Someone definitely used their imagination to write this story, didn't they? A Day at the Beach. This looks like a story, but it seems realistic, like it could really happen. So this is not an imaginative story. Are you ready to start writing your own imaginative narrative? Check out the next episode to see how I begin brainstorming ideas for my story. How to write an imaginative narrative for kids. Episode 2, Brainstorming. I'm writing an imaginative narrative or fantasy story. I have to use my imagination to write a story that could not really happen. But instead of getting started right away, it helps if you brainstorm first. Brainstorming just means thinking of lots of different ideas. Later, you'll decide which ideas are the best for your story. Sometimes it helps to use a graphic organizer. You can use a pre-made organizer, or you can even make your own. I'm going to use a circle map because it has plenty of room for my ideas. First, I'll brainstorm some different types of characters. Remember, characters are the people, animals, or creatures in your story. In an imaginative narrative, your characters aren't just regular people like you and me. You have to use your imagination. I could write about a vampire, a witch, a superhero, a talking dog. Wow, there are so many options. It might also help if you brainstorm some possible settings. A setting is when and where your story takes place. A fantasy story can take place in the past, present, or future. It can take place somewhere realistic or somewhere you've imagined. Let's see. My setting could be the moon in the future, maybe a castle long ago, a big city at night, or even a beach in the summertime. I'll think more about the details of the setting I choose later, but these are some good ideas to help me get started. Brainstorming characters can help you think of other possible settings, and brainstorming settings can help you think of other possible characters. I can keep adding to my graphic organizers until I have plenty of options. When you finish brainstorming, you can look back at all of your ideas and decide which ones aren't that interesting or exciting to you, or which ones don't really make sense. After you eliminate a few, you can choose which character and setting will be the best choices for your story. Are you ready for the next step in writing an imaginative narrative? Check out the next episode to see how I start planning my story.
Okay, grade 4. Now, after I taught you how to write a fantasy story, I need you to open your RCV booklet, page 32, and write your own fantasy story. What I need you to write about is, have you just bought a new pen from a stationery shop, but there is something special about this pen? This pen is magical. Whenever you draw something with it, it becomes real. Write a story describing how you use this pen. So I need you to write your own fantasy story. Use your imaginary. Use imaginary setting and imaginary events and also characters. Thank you, grade 4.